I'm going to kick off my VPN in 3.
I got the chat.
2. Okay, it says we're live. Confirm.
All right. Waiting for the delay to show me, but it'll probably come up.
All right, I'm kicking off my VPN.
I got the notification on the YouTube,
Okay.
on the MeTubes.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All
it's
right.
on.
Excited. Oh, echo. There's an echo.
That's me. I keep forgetting to turn off the.
No worries. Here, let me do an intro here. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can do this.
Let's do it.
All right, fantastic. So today is, what is today? Today is August 21st, 2024. There we go. Today, I mean, we already talked about the full moon being in Aquarius. I kind of just stuck that in the title for clickbaity purposes, but I do at some point want to touch on the Venus transiting into Virgo. Oh no, the moon transiting into Virgo. I have to look, you guys. You gotta give me a minute. I'm a little frazzled here. Before we get too far in, my website is SumerianAstrology.com. I got all kinds of cool stuff on there. You can get like free stuff. I have a full 15-hour video course. Friar can vouch for it. It's pretty awesome. I'm not going to go into all of the things that we do, but all of the links are going to be in the video description. That includes my links, Friar's links. Nikki's not here today. She is sick. I'm not sure if Kat's jumping on, possibly Pat. We don't ever know. We're savages over here and we just wing it.
Right.
We do have a special guest today.
Don't we?
Yes, we do. I can't jump between screens with, I might crash my video card over here, but obviously, as you can see up here, maybe on the screen, his name is Owen Hunt at Bootsy Greenwood, right on all profiles. So, cool. I will interrupt at some point and we'll jump into some astrology stuff here, but I do want to, we don't usually have special guests and stuff, so I'm like really excited about it, and I really want to talk to you. Can you, rather than me butcher an intro and a bio for you, why don't you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Okay, well, that's great. I'm super happy to be here, Abby. Thank you. I ran into Friar Pesel. Am I pronouncing that right, Friar?
Yeah, all pronunciations are correct.
Okay, I like that. Well, I'm gonna get pretty liberal with it then. But but yeah, I ran into him. We have a mutual friend, Maria West, who is fabulous. I love her to death. And so I have been in the self-help sort of space for quite a few years, studying anything I could find, from Western self-help traditional stuff, magic, hermetics, to Eastern philosophy, and a very curious book called Reality Transurfing, which is a Russian mystical type of book that came out in the early 2000s. And
yeah, they're into that here.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know, the Russian stuff, it seems to find me. There's a bunch of other Russian books that I've kind of come across. One's called The Dream Searchers. It's a whole series of these folks who are like dream hacking, really is kind of what it was supposed to be called. But I think someone had already bought the trademark, so they had to change it to Dream Searchers. But it's a lot of it's really kind of based on Castaneda's stuff. But my area of expertise is really purpose. I really try to focus on purpose and helping people find purpose, or Dharma, as it's known in this awesome book that Friar and I are both super passionate about and obsessed with. I can't stop reading it. And we're doing actually a live stream next week on my channel talking about the Bhagavad Gita, aka the Song of God. Essentially, all the questions that you had for God, you're like, wow, I wonder if I could talk to God, what question would I ask? Well, someone already thought to ask that question, and then God answered it, and they wrote it down in a book 4,000 years ago.
In song form, no less.
Yeah, right. And they styled it. They totally pimped it. So good.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that, and I'm really excited about it. It's really brought a lot of things together for me. But I love working with people, and I'm working on basically putting together a bit of an offer to help people basically implement what their purpose is. And I just finished putting the final touches on my little purpose course. It's just about an hour worth of content over 7 days. You just have exercises for each little module, and it helps you to kind of define what your purpose or Dharma is, and basically get focused and centered using a bunch of different things that I've learned and kind of picked up over the years. And yeah, I'm just really excited and passionate. I also do stand-up comedy as well. So, you know, if people are interested, they can go to my website and check out some clips there of some sketches as well. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you all are doing.
Yeah, thanks for being on here. That's awesome.
I'm
I was
glad you are.
watching
Yeah.
one of your videos. You said something that struck me, and just so you guys know, it's late here. I've been up for a long time. I worked out, you know, it's different time zone and stuff. So if I see kind of or seem out of it when I'm doing these live streams, I tried to do a podcast like a few years ago, and I was so it's one thing to have a conversation this late at night. It's another thing to just sit and like interview people. Oh, it was painful. So needless to say, I don't do that anymore. But I can usually get by with you know, pretending to talk to people. But anyways, I was watching one of your videos, and something that you said struck me, and I'm going to butcher it now. I cannot remember exactly word for word. It wasn't a video from very long ago, so you can probably help me, but it was about comedy in particular. I have a what I would call, I'm very sarcastic. I have a dark sense of humor, right? But you said something about taking tragedy and then like putting time, like giving it some time and space so that you can see the humor in that. Would you mind rephrasing it the way that you said it? Do you remember how you said it so that I don't have to try to remember it all?
Sure, sure. So that's not my quote. This is like a definition of comedy as tragedy plus time. But if you have a dark sense of humor, I do too, then comedy is tragedy plus tragedy. That's what I think
Okay.
it is, you know. So yeah, but that's what they say, because if it happens to you, right? Like if if you get the pie in the face, like it's not funny. But if you're watching the pie in the face, then that's time, you know, it's a tragedy, and then you're removed from it. Or if you think about it later, now it's funny, you know. So that's kind of the gist, is like something that's funny is not funny when it happens, but when you get some distance from it,
Like
time or
Titanic
space.
jokes.
Right,
Like
exactly.
it should
Right.
be okay. Like at what point is it
Right.
okay?
Right. Well,
Just
9/11 jokes, I think, are fine now, you know,
Oh,
but it's taken that long. Like, what was
so
it?
we got written notice. That's all right now.
I don't know. It's on our tournament of topics board. So
So what's the time frame, like generally speaking, or is there like a sliding scale based on how tragic something is?
I think it depends on you and your sense of humor and how dark it really is. You know, I try to joke about things honestly as soon as possible, because the thing about it is, if you can joke about something, then it doesn't have power over you. So it's a really good way to give yourself a little bit of a reprieve from the emotional, you know, attachment to something. It's just,
Agreed. I've read a lot of near-death experience accounts, and there were a few that really seemed to focus on the so the light, you know, that everybody goes to,
Mhm.
how funny and humorous this light is, and how not serious it was. To the point where people would go and they'd be furious at this, like, why did you make me live this horrible life and whatever, and like, you know, it's cracking jokes with them. And I heard one person say, I can't remember, she might have done an interview and that's why it kind of stuck out to me, but she said God, or whatever this thing is the ultimate comedian, because it was just like, it was just, it had the best sense of humor. And I've seen that as a reoccurring theme, and I don't think that that is a coincidence. Personally, when it comes to like spirituality and religion and stuff, I think that the lack of humor is really sad. Like, it's good to be solemn and serious at times, but I think, you know, I think gods and deities and spirits and whatever's floating around over there has a pretty good sense of humor, but that's just me. Friar, I'm monopolizing the conversation.
No,
Okay,
no.
so do you want to be called Owen? Should we be calling you Bootsy Greenwood, at Bootsy Greenwood? How would you like to be addressed?
It's totally up to you. Whatever you feel more comfortable with. Some people like to call me Owen. Some people like to call me Bootsy. I can explain why. I have two names. I know it's a little confusing, but it's
why?
just a way to distinguish myself on the internet, because there's a show called Grey's Anatomy. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Heard
It's
of
like a
it.
soap opera, like hospital show. And
Uh-huh.
there's a character in the show, and the character's name is Owen Hunt.
I
So
gotcha.
if
Okay.
you Google Owen Hunt, that's the guy who comes, and he's a giant ass, so it doesn't help my cause.
Are you sure it's Hunt and not?
Well, it should be. He should be the one getting called that, and not me in the high school yearbook.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
Tragedy plus
yes.
time equals
Gotcha.
comedy. Yes, it
Okay.
was real. That really happened.
So no longer too soon for that one.
No, it'll never be too soon. It was awful in high school, but when I got to college, it became a very fun joke.
Gotcha.
Well, one of the things that we talked about, not actually on the call, it was on our meditation calls, which anybody watching this, I don't know if anybody's watching, we don't put out like, like, oh, we're live streaming now. We don't do any of that. We probably should.
I do.
Well, okay, he does. I definitely don't. But on the meditation call, the link to join, if anybody's interested, we have a 2-hour meditation support group. We don't actually meditate on the call. We pretty much talk about meditation, and then we move on to all of the mysteries of the universe and tag team issues and traumas and whatever. And so if anybody's interested, you're welcome to jump on that call with us. But we were talking about this live stream in particular. Well, not this one, but just the Wednesday live streams. I thought I made it clear to everyone that it's a team effort. It is, I don't consider it my live stream, even though I'm hosting it on my channel. You guys have rights, like content rights. So when you registered to jump on the call, like you got content rights, you can take this, you can do whatever you want with it. So with that being said, Friar, I'm monopolizing the conversation. What would you like to have any questions, comments, concerns? Is there any areas that you would like? Because Owen probably better than I do at this point, and you know what he's into, and you might be able to get him talking a little bit over there.
Oh, that's fine. So first of all, because me being me, what microphone are you using right now?
I have a Shure SM7B.
I knew it.
Is that the one you were just telling me about?
Yep,
Okay.
that's the one. So Abby was thinking about some audio upgrades, and so we were talking about that just before you popped on.
Cool.
How's the weather there in Northwest Georgia?
So I'm in Northeast Georgia, just east of Atlanta, in a little tiny town called Athens, Georgia. REM, the B-52s, Widespread Panic, Sound Tribe Sector 9, tons and tons of different music. Neutral Milk Hotel, I should definitely mention. If you never heard of them, I strongly recommend it. One of the most influential indie bands ever. Check them out if you like indie rock. Yeah, lovely little cultural, artistic town here, just east of Atlanta, about an hour and a half. In Atlanta, a fair bit as well, but weather is actually starting to get really nice. I should be a weatherman. I've got the voice for it. I feel like, we've got a low pressure system coming in right now. And no, the leaves are about to start turning. You're in North Carolina, right, Friar?
I am.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. So I love the fall here. It's literally my favorite time of the year. I love to watch the leaves turn, the crispness of the breeze. And I actually really like college football too. So that's another thing that I'd like to do in the fall on Saturdays.
Yeah. This region is just like eat up with the college football.
Oh yeah. It's like a
as we like to say in the South, eat up.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, good. You do you do improv? Like, is that your gig? When you go to the bars and set up your stuff?
I used to do improv, but I just do stand up now.
Okay.
After the pandemic happened, I realized that, getting a bunch of people together and all this was a lot more trouble, and people kind of had gone their separate ways anyway. So I was like, well, if I have to just book me, I used to be in bands forever, and it's like the drummer's wife would get pregnant, or someone would have to move, or you know what I mean? Like things happened, and it's like for stand up, like I don't need to worry about anybody but myself. So it's like really easy. Like if I'm free at Tuesday at 7 p.m., I can just book that show, and I don't have to worry about coordinating with anybody else. So I started doing stand up pretty much right at the pandemic exclusively.
Okay. Well, you could think of this group or this event that you're at, and it's sort of like an esoteric improv in some ways, because
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we just jump on in, like, Abby's gonna show us the sky and show us all the fancy dancy magic prancies, and then we're just gonna like let it rip.
Yeah, I forgot to pull my stuff up. Give me like,
Oh.
you reminded me. Let me go ahead and do that right now while you're talking.
I'm here to help.
What's today again, you guys?
It's the 21st, at least in America land.
I think it is here too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you at, Abby?
I'm in Yekaterinburg, Russia. So right on
What?
the, yes,
Yeah.
on the inside of the Asian side of the Eurasian border.
Oh, wow. Fascinating.
She lives in the fourth largest city, and if she goes too far on her bicycle, she has to worry about being eaten by bears.
Yes. I
Well,
mean, I
that is
haven't
true.
seen any bears yet, but I also, when I start to think I'm in bear country, I turn around.
You start looking for unicycles. You're
Just,
like,
yeah, just to be safe, you know.
Jokes and jokes and jokes.
well, I just want to, I'm here to learn because I really honestly,
No.
I know nothing about astrology to put
Hey,
everything on the table.
that is the best way to do it. Because at a certain point, when you start to know too much about astrology, it's really hard to reteach or re-educate someone, you know, in astrology after they've learned the incorrect way. And unfortunately, most of the information out there is demonstrably incorrect, which
Yeah.
is
Can
Provably.
we talk a little bit about that? Because I want to hear what is, well, and we don't have to talk about who's wrong, but like
we can talk about who's wrong. No, that's okay.
Oh,
she's like, let's talk shit.
oh, that
Let's
happens here
go.
for sure.
Yes.
Oh, so
100%.
so as a like a super duper easy setup here, generally speaking, we talk about the systems being tropical, okay, and we talk about sidereal, which is much the same as tropical, but the degrees are shifted because we acknowledge the fact that time has passed in the last 2,000 years.
Mm.
And there's also Vedic, which is also another popular system, which is based in sidereal. Unless you're crazy, in which case you superimpose tropical on Vedic, and then good luck.
Yeah. And who knows why anybody would do that. Do you have any idea what we're talking about right now?
I do a little bit. I talked to Athen Chimente one time on my
Okay.
podcast.
Okay, I
and so
gotcha.
he talked about sidereal astrology. So
So you
I've had-
know like
I
how
know
it
a little
works.
bit. Like I've had readings in both. So like I know my big three, at least in each system.
Okay.
They're slightly different. They're not that different, actually. I'm a Cancer sun sign in both, which is kind of
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a 7-degree overlap between them all. So yeah, sometimes you are in the same one.
So I've learned a little bit about it. Like basically, essentially what Athens said was like, yeah, we have computers now, so we can like chart the stars a little better, you know, than how we used to, maybe. Like we can follow things along. He was a Navy guy, so he's like a very intellectual, you know, type.
Yeah, and we can also go outside and touch some grass and look up at the sky, which a lot of astrologers have never done.
Yeah.
See, I think that's so cool. I want to learn how to just read the sky. How cool would it be to be able to navigate by the stars like people used to do back in the day? That's dope.
It's actually pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, I have an art degree, okay? And I took 2 semesters of astrology. I took solar system and galactic, and I did my labs were also astrology.
You mean astronomy?
Astronomy, yes. I wish it was astrology. That would have been cool, but no, astronomy. I make that mistake a lot. But yes, if I can do it, if I can get out there and, you know, peek through a big giant telescope and find stuff, anyone can do it. And you can do a lot of naked eye. In fact, just through binoculars, you can see amazing stuff. Just binoculars.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me do this. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's not quite as interesting today. The new moon stuff's usually the most interesting. However, last week, right before we finished the call, we were talking about, what was his name? I subbed to him, but names escape me. Friar, the guy
Randall
that
Carlson?
you said, no, the guy who you said, it's Victor something who predicted Trump's event.
Oh yeah. Astro Victor.
Yes. So I was saying that nobody predicted that. That doesn't happen. That's not how astrology works. Friar corrected me and said that, in fact, what is it? You just said it. Astro Victor. Okay. That he did, in fact, predict this. So I went and I watched the video.
Very good.
despite what every single person in the comments will tell you, which is, oh my God, you totally predicted it like 3 days in advance, blah, 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 whatever. He does not, in fact, predict anything of the sort. Okay. And I would like to explain this because this is a common misconception in astrology in general. There is no assassination planet. There's no planet of death. You cannot, okay, let me back up. You can, if you want to get super, super, super neurotic. If you have enough factors, you have the United States' natal chart, you have Donald Trump's chart, you have the chart of his would-be, take her out unaliver. I don't know what words we should or should not be saying. YouTube's really cracking down, so there's that. Yes, if you really want to get technical, you could go through all 3 of those charts for the duration of their entire lifetimes, and you can probably pick out some significant dates. However, that is not what most astrologers do. That requires an ungodly amount of work. It's not useful for anyone. So this is basically what happened, okay? And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll just give you an example. So his entire video, okay, first of all, I subbed to him. He's a great astrologer. I really like how he does his readings. This is not a slight against him whatsoever. He did astrology the exact way you're supposed to. He's taking the planets, the alignment and everything, the mythology behind whatever he's doing, and he's extrapolating therefrom, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. But like I said, he's not saying Donald Trump is going to be taken out on this or that day, okay? He's throwing darts based on information he knows about what's going on in the West. And he's using these as examples. And that's what you're supposed to do. That's all you can do when you have a very general chart, okay? So he says the ones that he really was looking at was Mars being conjunct Algol right now. Am I saying it correctly, you guys? That's not one of my stars I work with, so I don't know. Algol, is that right?
Yeah,
right?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can't even agree on your name being pronounced correctly, so I don't know if I trust you.
That's because that's fine too. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what he says. This is how he came to this conclusion. And by the way, this was a small portion of what his whole video was about. He was just talking about, like, generally speaking, the dark stuff that could potentially be happening while all of this is going on, which that in itself is correct. He said that Donald Trump's midheaven, which is based on the time of day he was born, by the way, is conjunct with Algol. And I believe he's using this in relation to this Mars conjunction with Algol. So he's saying for him, it's much more significant. The problem with this, okay, is that on the day Donald Trump was born, 250 million other human beings were born on the exact same day. So they're all going to have the opportunity at the very least for a similar connection to their midheavens, which again is based on like the highest point in the sky at the time someone was born. If we give us like a 2-hour window within that time period, at a minimum, we're going to get at least 22,000 other people who are going to deal with they're going to have the same aspect as Donald Trump on that day. Now, that's just for that one day. But the people within that same maybe week period, because Mars moves very slowly, we're still going to have 100,000 people that are going to have this exact same aspect. So one of the things he's saying, and he rattled off a big list, like so in the mythology, Medusa, who is the eye, the Algol, the star, is supposed to be one of the eyes of Medusa or whatever. She gets beheaded. And so he says, this means that Trump could experience beheading in the form of, and he lists off like all these possibilities, and they're not outlandish considering the things we already know about, Donald Trump. Like a lot of people don't like him, like people try to take presidents out. That's not really that unusual. It's an election year. So like the things he's using, again, that's what you have to do because those are your options. But also consider that Donald Trump himself, all those that other 100,000 people, let's pretend they don't even exist and we're just dealing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump experiences this exact same aspect every 2 years. Because your Mars is going to circle back through the zodiac every 2 years. It's a Mars return. So he's had this exact same thing for 41 years. He's experienced this aspect 41 times. And people have not tried to assassinate him 41 times as far as I know. I could be wrong. So this speaks to it's not, and again, it's not on this Astro Victor guy.
Astro Victor, yes.
I think he did a great job. He seems really good. This is and I don't know, I didn't watch any of his videos after that. Now, if he turned around, which I don't think he did based on what he was saying, he seems like he knows well enough what's going on. If he turned around and was like, oh, I totally called it, then that's, we're gonna call bullshit on that, okay? But the people watching the video, they're mistaking this for like some sort of precise prediction, and it's not. He's throwing darts and he's getting lucky. So again, and I say he's getting lucky, he's using probably a little intuition. He's using obvious stuff that he knows is going on. But again, there should be at least 100,000 other people who should have had an assassination attempt on the same day. And there's not, because there's no planet of assassination. There's no planet of any of these things, okay? They are meant to communicate very general things. Owen, I heard you talk about chakras on your channel. You're familiar with this. So like, I can see the patterns in the energetic connections between chakras in particular through like planetary alignments and everything. And just like that, these are general energies. They have a range where they kind of operate, and then you have a lot of options. So if somebody's having issues with their heart chakra, maybe they're not able to express love, give love, they have a lot of like immune system issues, there's a bunch of stuff that could go awry. It's the same thing with astrology. You can't pin it down to like one particular event. So anybody out there watching this, if somebody's telling you, if there's an astrologer saying they're predicting these dates in advance, I'm telling you they're full of it. Please send me their information. I'm happy to pay what I got to pay to get a reading from them so they can replicate this, but they can't do it. It's not doable. It's just not. Okay. I said my piece.
Good.
Questions, comments, concerns?
I like it. I like what you said. I think it makes a lot of sense because, so for me, I do believe that there is something to astrology, right? Like certainly there's all these planets. It's like, when you're born, the universe takes a snapshot of all these energies in this certain place. And I think we probably have some certain tendencies and personality traits probably that happen and potentially could be a result of that. But I don't know. You're in Russia. Are you familiar with this book? Reality Transurfing? Have you ever heard of it?
I have been living under a rock for a very long time, so.
Well, that's good, but it's a weirdly a Russian book. I think it's a bestseller there. I'm under the impression that it is.
It probably is. They're really into like there's local shamans. There's they're anything. They're 100% on board with all of it.
We think it's all derivative of Toltec stuff. That's my theory, but I don't want to get sidetracked in the weeds. Essentially, what he says is that there's significance to these things, but the world is like a mirror. We project to it and it kind of reflects what we believe about it. And so if we allow people to tell us, what our fortune is, like through a horoscope or through whatever, magical system that they claim to know, then we are giving our power away to them in order to define our own fate. And our fate is ours to choose, as it says in the book. And I believe there is certain tendencies and aspects of ourself that we can really understand through astrology. I mean, the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, I could go on. There's lots of cool systems, but I wouldn't let any of those, define my experience. And I agree with you. I think that there can't be some assassination planet. This is just stuff that people just make up. They're the mirror makers is what he calls them, because they're trying to create this idea, like the media, right? Like they're trying to create this idea to influence consensus reality and drive things in a certain direction. And so I don't know. I think people have been doing this type of thing for a long time. And while there's some like fun to it, it's also disingenuous and misleading when people like create these ideas and prophecies. And then the only way that the prophecies come true is when people actively work to make the prophecies come true, because nothing's certain.
Yeah.
And then the Gita has really firmed me up on just like not biting on any of this apocalyptic nonsense that it's just like every single sect becomes like a death cult essentially. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, what if we were like not in a death cult? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if we could just build the new earth, right? Like without it being destroyed first or whatever bullshit, that people want to believe. I grew
Yeah,
up in the church, so it was like apocalypse, you know what I'm saying? So
who started that? Do you guys because there I mean, is that do we want to credit Judaism
Oh,
for
for
like
like apocalypse
the
cults?
oldest yeah, for basically like
Good
the world
question.
Olam Nabah, like the world to come, like is that where we're gonna go back to?
I don't know if there's maybe something prior to that. It could be, but I don't know as far
Well,
as
there
my
was that
knowledge.
Mesopotamia, so we can't blame them. They
Well,
didn't have any of that.
I mean, I think I defer to your uh
I mean, I would imagine now. I don't know about folklore like all over the world. Like I can't speak to that. I certainly don't have enough information of whatever.
Well,
Like
there was also the Mayan calendar thingy, which
yes, but isn't can we say I'm not an ex? I don't know enough to say
I'm
whether
not
or
either.
not that was really not just a reset of a cycle or if that was like the end of the world. I would think that our Western values we kind of colored that with our own death cults, like you said. We're putting our own nonsense onto it when it maybe wasn't there in the first place. So we see what we want to see because we're all like obsessed with the end of the world, right? I grew up Catholic, so
Right.
like I know all about. I've read Revelation. Like I probably could recite it for you. It's great. It's great. It's epic. Like what a great story. But I mean, it's all based on uh, like the whole messianic, which we talked about in the last live stream. It's all based on the Babylonian exile of the Jews into Babylon, and they basically were really bummed out, and they wanted somebody to bring them all together. So they created this concept of the Messiah. But even in Judaism, the Messiah wasn't meant to come and like redeem souls in the traditional sense. He was really meant to be like a king, like a leader,
Right.
like a King David return.
Yeah.
So all of the like we're now waiting on the end of the world, like all of that John of Patmos, prophecy and stuff, was probably, like an invention, and that has obviously had a major influence on the West in particular. So,
Yeah.
what are
And
we talking about? Have we get on
there,
that kind
there's
well,
also in the Gita, there's also the whole concept of like, dude, it's already done.
right.
Like when Krishna shows Arjun like all his enemies being devoured, like they're marching into my mouth. You're gonna win this battle. And in some ways that there's a meta message too. It's like, and you too, Arjun, are gonna die. You're all gonna die. So might as well do your shit.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
everyone dies, but there's also no actual death. Like you can't actually die.
Right. Also
Right.
covered, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also covered in the Gita. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
It's all in there.
I don't know why we're so obsessed with it. I had a friend who he went by Apocalypse Fatigue on his Instagram. That was his handle for a while because he's like, dude, I mean, I've been traumatized my whole life, just led by the nose. Oh, the end of the world's coming. The end of the world's coming. And it's like, dude, it's just like edging, we're never going to get there to this like end. But I just, the Gita has really given me a lot of like reassurance as well, because like essentially Krishna's like, look, dude, if things get off balance, I'll come back and balance them out. Don't worry about it. Don't trip. Just do what you have to do. Do your action. Like Emerson says, do your work and I'll know you, like do your karma yoga, man. And don't worry about the rest. Like I got it. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, and Double J in the chat, thank you for being in the chat, has said Google has apocalyptic literature originating in early Jewish tradition in the third century BCE. But I want to be quick to add that apocalypse does not mean the end of the world.
That is true.
It means revealing. Like the book of Revelation is the book of the apocalypse because it's the same word.
Right. Yes, that is
So
true.
we should probably do a better job distinguishing between like the end times or like the end of whatever, end of people's, end of civilization.
It's still a boogeyman, though. It's still let's scare you into going to church.
Yep.
Working over your cash.
Comply. It's
Yep.
compliance. It's like
you will comply.
Coercion and used on society in order to get them to follow the rules and make enemies out of your people. Make them into criminals, so they do what you have to do, what you tell them to.
Yes.
Anyway,
And there's also the concept of immanentizing the eschaton, which is a really fancy way of saying hastening the return of Jesus, which is a sort of an end time marker. And that's a whole other thing.
It's not coming. It's not coming, you guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just not. And I love you. I love all my Christian brothers and sisters out there. I love you. I love everyone. I love my Muslim brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters in Satan, whatever you guys want, whatever you're into. I don't care.
same.
But like, guys, been waiting for a really long time. Go and read your Bible, okay? And I'm saying this from a place of love. If you are waiting now, and I'm going to say this probably every time it comes up, if you like, I think if at a minimum, if you want to look at Christ as a guru and say like he's got good ideas, let's follow the, like he's my teacher and I'm following my teacher, fantastic. But the concept of a triune God is blasphemy in Judaism. And if your religion is based on Judaism, so like in order for Jesus to be the Jewish Messiah, you have to like, he has to be in line with the requirements. He's not, but you know what? He does. They list out some qualifications for false messiahs and he fits the bill, okay? So read the Bible. That's all I'm saying. Like, read the Bible. I'm happy for you to prove me wrong. I'll talk about it. Like, you can come on. We could talk about it if you want, or you can send nasty messages in the comments too. I don't care. Like, I'm happy to communicate this.
Come on the show. This is a very, very open door. People may not realize that, but like you can, if you want on the show, you're getting on the show.
Yes.
Straight up.
Rabbi Tovia Singer is on YouTube. He's awesome. He's like, he will blow your mind probably. Like you will not be able to handle all of the information he has. If you still want to be a Christian, and you know, like you're maybe going to read the Bible. I don't know why I wouldn't have read the Bible if you're going to be Christian. I just don't get it. But check out his stuff too. He's got a lot of good information. So
yep, I follow a number of rabbis on YouTube.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I got two things. I have two things as the co-host of the show. First of all, when you said nobody has ever brought me a prophecy that was true, that was just like an open invitation. I was like, I have got to find something. Because statements like that to me is just like red meat. I'm like,
hold on. I didn't see a prophecy that wasn't true. People can prophesize all day long. I'm talking about looking at somebody's like astrology chart, like their natal chart, and saying like, you're going to die on this day. You're going to have your, get pregnant on this day, blah, blah, blah. Now, again, there are ways. So like one of the ones that they do, just to give an example, astrologers like to look at wedding season, okay, and make some predictions based on that. And they can get pretty close. Like if they already know you're engaged and they're going to look at the upcoming, they probably figure, you're more likely to get married in the summer, probably on a weekend, like there's things that they factor in to get pretty close. That's not the same thing. Okay. And we know this because these same people, which again, no one's ever sent me somebody who can replicate this with any type of frequency.
And that was the thing that I was like, I have got to try. I simply must try. Second of all, if you were to go to my website, friarpesel.wordpress.com,
there you go.
You would understand why the pronunciation of my name does not matter. I have written about this. It is written.
Okay.
So
I have to read that.
So shall it be written, so shall it be done.
There we go.
So those were my two things. I did my two things.
Okay. Owen. I didn't know how to like bridge that into an actual question. Okay, so I have this philosophy. I don't have any clue how I came up with it. I'm sure I picked it up from somewhere because, we're all a series of unconscious programs and whatnot. But I happen to believe that I'm on the best timeline, the most joyous and prosperous and best timeline. And I have like 100% confidence in that. And I don't know what that looks like or where, like, I don't have a destination in mind. I just know, like, I just trust that that's where I'm at all times. I saw something, I was listening to one of your videos and, um, I believe you were talking about like making choices to jump into like the timeline that you want and whatnot. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like woo-woo
Go
sort of.
woo. We can do woo.
Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
idea is it's really simple. I mean, it's not that crazy, right? Like infinity is real, right? Like mathematically, we know there's this thing called infinity that we can't conceptualize. We don't have the ability with our brains to understand how much is actually possible. But it helped me a lot from like an understanding perspective because I think we work really hard to get to this reality or to become this person or to create this reality or whatever. But it's like, if you think about it, infinity, everything is already exists already, right? Like in the mind of the all is infinity. Everything already exists already there. So it's helped me a lot to be like, okay, well, I don't have to like create this reality. In the Transurfing book, it says you choose, right? Like you choose from all the infinite possibilities that are like timelines, and I can like draw it out in a linear fashion on the whiteboard, like with stick figures, which I do on my channel to try to illustrate the simplicity of it. Cause like, I just want, like, if I can't make a meth head understand meditation, I have fallen short, right? Like I'm from West Georgia.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that sounds really difficult. I don't know.
we're like
I think
we're
you're
like,
being too hard on yourself.
But
we're like
not uncommon.
simple. We're like simple people, right? Like,
Okay.
so I just want to boil things down in the most practical manner as possible. So, but it just helped me a lot to be like, oh, okay, well, infinite versions exist, infinite possibilities exist. So, how can I basically choose instead of jumping timelines, like waking up in some crazy Mario Kart reality or whatever? It's like, instead, how can I like, and basically, we talk about Jesus and transfiguration, which has nothing to do with a cross or anything. It's really about exemplifying and basically focusing on what it is that you want, right? Like, so if you're focusing on like your highest timeline and the joyous life that you have, then you're really just creating a feedback loop that's going to create and be more of that. So if you look up at this idea, like the Kybalion says that you should polarize yourself to your higher self. The first step is to understand who your higher self is, right? Which I don't see that as like some perfect angel, by the way. Like I view it as someone who's here to have an amazing experience. And the idea is not to compare yourself to that higher self either, but to actively look on it, like the transfiguration, like you look on Jesus and you basically take those characteristics through essentially osmosis. It's like whatever you focus on, expands, whatever, what is the esoteric saying that rhymes, whatever you attend to, you're basically,
Energy
creating.
goes, wait,
Yeah,
energy goes
wherever
where
energy goes,
attention
Pension.
flows or,
attention
okay.
goes,
Yeah,
energy
yeah,
flows. Attention goes, energy flows. Yeah. It's funny that I can't think of that because it's so cliche.
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the idea is that you just define that timeline, that highest self, that version that you want to embody. And then you basically just make the choices that you would make as that version, right? Like instead of like doing all this work and, you know, fighting against the world, essentially, it's like you could just choose instead and basically embody what that is to you, right? Like, and so there's all these different versions of ourselves. There's all these different versions of like reality. Of course, it becomes a complicated sort of soup because we're like part of consensus reality and the general public and population and kind of how we view the world, and that does change it. That's why the mirror makers, the people who are like trying to manipulate thoughts, the media, there's a lot of power there, because if you could convince every single person that, I don't know, there's a really deadly thing around the corner that's going to sneak up on you and get you, or that the world has to end in order for us to have a new world or whatever, fill in the blank, then people will actively believe that, and then they will actually create it here in physical reality. So you can do the same thing with yourself. The idea just to polarize on whatever timeline or lifeline or reality that you personally want to create or embody in this reality in 3D material space. And then you start to actively just focus on that and start to act in that manner. Instead of like having to do all this work and, oh, I'll get there eventually. Like our mind kind of creates these barriers for ourselves. And we're like, well, I can't do that until I do this and until I have this or whatever. Instead, you can just shortcut that whole entire process and just focus on what it is that you actually do want and then start working toward what that is. It seems like you're kind of already doing that. And, there are certain challenges and things like that. Like I'm kind of simplifying it, but at the same time, it's not that hard either. Like it's not complicated. It's just a matter of taking action and continuing to take that action. How would you say that you've gotten to the place where you're like, I know I'm in the right place. Like I'm actually where I'm supposed to be and my life is joyful.
I mean, basically the exact way that you just said.
You're a Shiva bhakt. You're like a Kashmiri Shivist, right? And I think that doesn't some of that apply? Maybe.
I don't know, possibly.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I have given people advice I started working as a psychic and astrologer when I was 18. And that was in 1999, I believe. So it's been a while. And during that time, I did a lot of work with people's spirit guides in particular. That's where I was getting a lot of my psychic information anyways. And one of the things that kept coming up was telling people, okay, to just do the thing that they were the most, everybody was born with a passion, right? We all knew, for the most part, most people know what they want out of life, what they want, the person they want to be, and then they're talked out of it, right? Like you have societal pressure, you have whatever. Grandma, grandpa were in the depression, so they want you to have that food and money scarcity. Like you get programmed, and we're so easily programmed. To give you an example, just real quick, just to illustrate this, I didn't ever watch the last season of Game of Thrones. Everybody said it sucked, right? Well, I kept getting these like little things on my feed recently on YouTube. They're little like clips from the last season of Game of Thrones. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just watch it. And even before I started watching, I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like I can already tell. I'm like, I don't know. Like they've already poisoned the well. I'm already like, this is a program that somebody put into me, right? So I'm like really hard, like trying to like just push all of this programming out, which if you can remind me, I will talk about why that's important in astrology too. Or anybody doing prediction, because that's like a huge thing and actually ruins people's lives. So I think it should be addressed. But one of the things that I kept getting, and I didn't do it myself, was to just do this thing that you love, that you're passionate about, and everything else falls into place. The Dharma, right? I fell victim to the same thing. Like I still went on the path that, oh, there's a mosquito in here. I went on the path, generally speaking. I continued to do like spiritual work, but I also did goofy shit. Like I joined the military because my family was on the military. They convinced me I wanted to be like an Air Force JAG and stuff. Like, like we all get sucked into it. I've done a lot of, I thought once I had to get a real job and I like freaked out. I was getting divorced and I'm like, well, I need to go get my insurance license. I became like home and property insurance, basically like an agent. I did it for like I studied so hard. And then like within 6 months, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is madness. Like I know what I'm supposed to, why don't I just go do this thing? And so it's been a process. And there was about 2.5 years ago, I had a marketing company. I ran a publishing company, like all this stuff with business development. I've worked with entrepreneurs. I've helped people build like literally $1 billion businesses, which is fun. Like it's great to help people do those things. But I really just wanted to focus on astrology, and I knew it. I like knew it way down deep in my soul, but I couldn't find, like, it seemed like at the time nobody wanted an astrology reading. Nobody, even like 10 years ago when I was really trying to push to make all this happen, everybody, like, nobody knew what sidereal astrology was 10 years ago. I know that sounds ridiculous to somebody out there listening, but like, people didn't know what it was. You really had to work to try to get somebody to understand it. It's a little bit more common now. Same thing, like, people don't, like, even ancient astrology, it doesn't compute to them. A lot of people get readings from me, they like buy them and they have no idea what they're getting into. Like, they don't understand that astrology existed 4,000 years prior to anything that the Greeks did, or the supposedly the Vedas did, which they didn't, but that's a different conversation. So I kept trying to convince myself, well, I just have to work hard. I gotta do ads, I gotta do all this other stuff, whatever. Finally, I got to this point. I hit this breaking point in there was a lot of, I realized I was a stress junkie. I was hustling. I was a big Grant Cardone, like, not like in the cult, you know, but I love Grant Cardone. I kind of still do, just because he's really type A, and I get into that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, just like hustle, like go out and make your money, right? Well, then I got to a point where it was like, do I really give a shit about any of that stuff? And I don't. Like, what am I doing? Well, I know I'm trying to honor my ancestors. I'm trying to like make my family proud. I'm trying to be a hard worker, you know, like live up to these ideals that were instilled in me. Then it occurred to me that I can actually make everything that I want in life, which is actually not a lot of stuff. Like, I'm a minimalist, or I don't need a lot, you know. I can make all of this happen if I just for real do the thing that I've been telling people for the last 20 some years to do, which is to just let go and to trust and to just do the thing that you love. No bullshit, no excuses. Okay. Go 100% into the thing you love and let the chips fall where they may. And that was a really hard thing to do. Probably the scariest thing I've ever done. Even when I met my Russian husband on the internet. I didn't even like talk to him on a video, and I was ready to marry him after, like, that's a whole nother story too. I went and like flew on a plane across the world without speaking the language, didn't have like a phone over here, like nothing. And I did all those things, but that wasn't even a little bit scary compared to like taking that leap of faith and like, really, I'm going to go 100% into this thing that I love. And once I did that, I swear to all that is holy, within hours of making this commitment to myself and being 100% real with it, miraculous things started to fall into place. Bizarre things, beyond the synchronicities. Okay. And that was it. And I knew, and I'm like, I'll never go back. And now I don't know if you understand the concept of, like, if you've ever done anything in sales or whatever, but it's really hard to sell something that you won't buy yourself. You know, it's hard to sell a Ferrari if you don't have one, right? Well, I mean, maybe it's not, but you should get one. Or if you're selling insurance, you should have the insurance you're selling, right? It's a pretty basic concept, because you don't want to, it's bordering on criminal. If you wouldn't buy your own product, you have no business selling it.
Couldn't agree more.
So it's not that I wouldn't buy my own product before, when I was telling people, like, no, do like your Dharma, right? Like, just do your work, do the thing you came here to do, that the gods gave you. And like, there's a reason for it. Like, just don't worry about it. Just do it. To say that and to actually do it. And it is one of the scariest things ever. So it's not, even though, yes, it's very simple to get to that point on paper, it's not an easy thing to do for most people. I think most people, money really gets in the way. Security. They're afraid to be broke and homeless. And that seems to be one of the biggest issues I have. So along the same lines that you do, when I do my work with my clients, I really try to help them. It seems to be what they end up coming to me for anyways, to try to help them find their purpose and what they're most passionate about. And that's one of the things I ask them is, you know, if Bill Gates dies, wills you all of his money, you never have to work again. You already traveled to all the places. You already did all the cool stuff. You donated to all the charities. Like, what are you doing with your time? A lot of people are like totally struck. They're like, I have no idea. Then take a break, get back to me later, you know, go and sit with yourself for a little while, figure this one out. But the other ones, like, they know what they want. And it's like, well, why aren't you doing that? Oh, well, I wouldn't know how, or I wouldn't, you know, like, I wouldn't be able to make that money. I got to pay my bills and blah, blah, blah. You have to be, I think, you have to be willing to, you got to be willing to fail and to be homeless and to be hungry. And you don't have to be those things, but you at least have to face that fear and come out and you'll come out the other side. Every single time I've seen it, every single time. Once you start to do that thing, the universe falls into place for you. Everything just starts to happen. So that was a really long-winded answer, and I apapologize.
No,
okay.
do not apologize. I'm ready to tear this place apart. Like I have a fire underneath me from that. Like, because it's like, it's the, you know, Arjuna doesn't want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's scared. He's like, no, that's my family. I don't want to fight, you know, like I don't want to fight against them. It's like, but you got to do it. Or you could just sit here and be the laughing stock of the whole country. What's up to you, bud? You know? So, you know, I deal with it all the time too, where I'm talking with clients, and that's a great question, like to ask people. I love that. And, you know, there's a lot of, but most people, you're going to hear the immediate why they can't do it, like immediately off the rip. They're like, and it's like, you're exactly right. It's not that you have to be homeless. You're not going to be homeless, probably. I mean, but you have to be able to be willing to face it. And if you don't have the, I don't know, more fortitude and to face that, to whatever it is, like Arjuna faces the army and fight, like you have to do it. And if you don't, well, guess what? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not going to make much progress. And so sometimes it takes people how long it takes. You know, I screwed around all my 20s, and when I hit 30, I was like, all right, well, what is it? Like I did the things that I wanted to do. I figured out ways to travel. I wasn't like privileged really, and came from a okay family, you know, broken, but my dad did well. And then, you know, when I got out of college, I was like, well, our bands broke up and everything. And I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I wanted to travel and like learn adventure sports. So I like worked for Outward Bound and became a raft guide and lived, you know, essentially I was homeless. I lived out of a van literally by the river, and learned to ski and ski instructed and just like basically just did all the fun things and traveled. And I was able to get jobs to do it. That was the only way I could fund it, was I had to find a way to work while I did it. Cruise ships, I got opportunities to do like all these cool things. But then I was like, all right, well, I've kind of done all the cool, fun things that I wanted to do that most people wait until retirement to do, which is kind of hilarious because like, really, you're going to go whitewater rafting on a class 5 river at 67 years old? I don't recommend it. I'll be your guide, but you know what I'm saying? You signed a waiver, but you know, like I did all that. And then I'm like, all right, well, now what? Like, what am I here for? What is my purpose? And I kind of like freaked out about it. Like I should have taken a little bit more of a calm, casual approach to it, and I think it would have gotten better results earlier, or different results sooner, because I made it such a big deal. Like I yanged it, you know, like I had all this masculine energy. Like, I got to figure it out. And so, but through that, I learned a lot of different processes and exercises and ways to kind of help other people discover the same thing for themselves. But essentially, like that's what I needed in order to get onto my path. And I became an entrepreneur, started studying a lot of marketing and as well, and sales and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and it's resolved really well actually with a lot of the spiritual stuff. Funnily enough, like it seems like contradictory, but they do go hand in hand.
Sure.
I agree.
So I have two things.
Okay.
Me with the two things, I don't get it. Kat is in the chat.
Hi, Kat.
Okay. So she has said lots of words on my little TV here. I will read them because you can't. She said, every moment is a choice. Every choice shapes our future / timeline. Would love to hear anyone's thoughts on retrocausality too, or the concept of choices made now affecting the past. Before we do that, so hold on to that thought. I'm going to read the rest of what she said. She said, the way I've heard Jason Breshears describe this that I like is that there are two realities: the consensus mainstream, which runs on dungeon programming, and then if we are errant or go our own way, we create our own reality. And she also says, Abby, your story is inspiring. And Double J says, you make so much sense. Know what you want. Decide how far you're willing to go to get what you want. And that's we're caught up on the chat. Second thing is,
Awesome.
Eventually we're going to have to put the chart up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I won't forget. Don't worry.
So
There's
retrocausality. Okay. Retrocausality.
Hold on, before you answer that question, I want to because Owen, you have to answer that question. But that I thought about this earlier when you were talking about it. So and I forget what happened. So I think it was in one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books. He was talking about this study they did where they they took a group of patients from this hospital, and it was a big group. And they had like three like test groups, okay? Like your control and whatever. But like for the one nobody prayed for, they had like the control group, and then the other one, they had this group of people pray for this people on this list. Well, it turns out that the list was from a group like patients that were in this hospital in the 90s. And when they went back, like the people praying didn't know who they were praying for. It turned out that the list that they had prayed for, they all like miraculously, not miraculously, but they recovered very, very quickly. They had weird stuff like meningitis and all kinds of stuff. And that brings up the idea that, so, you know, if everything's happening simultaneously, it's not just that we are, like we can, what am I trying to say here? A few years ago, started meditating. And when I was talking to I was like talking to my future self, and I started getting like this feedback from like future Abby was like also praying for past Abby. And I'm like, wow, I didn't like know that was a thing. I didn't know that was happening. So that seems to be, so when you're answering your question here, if you, that I'm like throwing to you to like fully be responsible for it now. If you have any insight on that, that'd be great too.
Yeah, for sure. So I do. There's one book that comes to mind that's really fascinating. It's Frederick Dodson's book. It's called Parallel Universes of the Self. It's got a ton of different exercises in it. It's absolutely fascinating, but he talks a lot about this. And another way that people talk about retrocausality is quantum entanglement. And the idea really is what it comes down to is like subjectively, like I don't know that the past like changes what happened necessarily, but the way that we experienced it does. Like when we kind of come into our own and heal ourselves in this timeline, then like basically the rest of the timeline behind it should also fall in line with that, right? Like future and past should all be still on that same. So, but I think, you know, the events don't really change that much. And that's why, like through Reiki and trauma healing and stuff like that, people will have you kind of bring up these traumas that you had gone through maybe early in childhood. And you go back and you actually travel and you talk to the people who are in this situation. You talk to yourself and you like hug yourself and love on yourself and stuff. And you just like, you know, try to heal that past trauma. So that's like one technique that a lot of people use. And I think it's, you know, so talking about consensus reality too, it gets a little bit jumbly, but the Parallel Universes of the Self book, it has a lot of insight into kind of how that all works together, the retrocausality and the quantum entanglement, because it's all linked together. You know, so if you're able to heal here in this timeline, then the past version's also healed. I don't think that changes the events, but it changes the memory of the events and it changes the experience so that it's no longer something that's traumatic to you. And now it's something that you can actually maybe use for inspiration. It doesn't hurt you anymore. You can make a joke about it. It doesn't have power over you any longer. So all these, you know, things that we've experienced in the past, they tend to not go, I don't think they go away entirely, but the way that we view the experience changes, which is really all that's required. And then talking about the consensus reality, that's basically everyone's projections. So what they're saying is that everyone has kind of got, and so this is a Robert Anton Wilson thing, actually. So everyone has their own reality tunnel, right? Like you view reality in a specific way for you. You have your paradigm, right? To use like the self-help word. And so does everyone else, right? In Vadim's book, he says that you have your layer of the world. Same thing, right? Reality tunnel. And so I have my reality tunnel. You have your reality tunnel. Friar's got his reality tunnel. And they all overlap. And they all create this consensus reality. So whenever everyone starts to view reality in the same way, that's what the mainstream view becomes. And so momentum is created toward that reality, future experience, that perception of what it is that we're experiencing. And so we don't have to look far back to see evidence of this. But at the same time, when we take reality into our own hands, we start to create our own. Now, that's not entirely separate. It's not like I can jump to some other timeline where, like, let's say there's no 2020, 2020 doesn't happen, no matter what my reality tunnel, I'm still here in the thick of it. There's one like material reality that we're experiencing together. There's not like, I don't think like, so in the mind of the all the infinity part is like over here in this side, and infinity is, it totally is real and it exists. But in the material side, there's one consensus conjoined reality that we're all experiencing. Like it's all one dream. And so we can bring things in from that, but I can't be like, so I can't be the emperor of Rome, right? In this reality, that's not possible. You know, I could be like, I guess the president or something like that. But there's certain things that are just so far off from the ability to bring it into this reality that it's not really possible, if that makes sense, right? I can't quantum jump to some like perceived reality, like in that old show with Scott Bakula, where he would like quantum leap was called.
Yeah.
It was a great show, you know, but like you can't like jump to some alternative reality here. Like you can in dreams, you know, you can in the mental plane, but we just have this one sort of physical reality that we're shared in this consensus way. And then everyone's actively contributing it to it with their own reality tunnel. So whatever their beliefs are, they're sort of overlapping and creating the consensus reality that we believe, which is different from like the material or natural law reality, which is founded on simply principles, but it's also linked and tied together through that like law of mentality, because the mind is really all there is, right? According to the Kybalion, the world is mental. It's a mental construct. It's mental first. So if we all decided certain things, then those things would begin to take shape and form in the reality. And that would actually change the way that we perceive the past as well, right? So the past would look different. I don't know that the events would be different, but the way that we experienced those past events would be. So like kind of how we trauma heal, similar thing, I think from a collective view, you know, we would look back and be like, oh yeah. Cause like I can look back at 2020 and be like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now in the moment, I was like, oh my God, it is the apocalypse. So I was like freaking out, you know, a little bit. But now I look back at it and it doesn't have the same sort of power. I can like actually make jokes about it and not be as influenced by it. And now the chat's going off. Am I fucking up? What's going on?
Is it? I can't see it, so I don't know.
Like I said, meth heads, you know what I'm saying?
I think you did, listen, I think you did a fine job, but argumentative Abby, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to throw something at you.
I love it.
Do what you, take it for what you will. I agree with almost everything you said. However, I disagree that we can't jump to those goofy ass timelines, in like the alternate realities. I think we probably can. However, I think that, we like subconsciously prevent ourselves from doing that. And I'll give you an example why. Okay. So we all remember Ed McMahon delivering, publishing, clearinghouse checks in large check form to like total strangers and like pulling up on their lawn and stuff. Well, he didn't do that. Okay. So like it is not Payless Shoe Store anymore. No matter what you remember, it is now Payless Shoe Source, right? So there are these goofy things, and like they're stressful. I was so pissed off for like, I'm still a little upset about Payless Shoe Store. It just really bothers me.
Doesn't it feel good to pay less? I remember the theme song.
So yes. So I think that I've had weird glitches and stuff, you know, weird stuff happen that like, it's so disturbing. It's like, it almost feels like a violation. It's very, very creepy to just have something in your material world just totally be different all of a sudden. So I do think that we probably, and you know, it's theoretical and I can't prove anything, right? But I think that we probably could become Emperor of Rome. But I think it would be so psychologically disturbing that we like prevent ourselves from seeing that. Same thing when you know, it's like people black out their traumas, right? Because it was so bad, like you just can't handle it. So now it just goes bye-bye, it's gone forever, right? Or at least it's buried. So I think there's that element to it. So I wasn't arguing too much, just
no, that's cool. No, I like what you said, and I don't disagree, but like from a practical perspective, I just don't like to juice and gas people up with, oh yeah,
go
just
way into the
let
weeds,
it on to some fairy timeline where you can be Tinkerbell and the Prince
which
of
people do,
Peace,
yes,
you know, or whatever. It's like that's not practical. So I kind of like, that's why I hold my position there. It's like I would have loved to have just jumped, realities during the 2020s time, early 2020s time, because like things seemed to be going on such a great way, and then when that happened, just dominoes fell and it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I do think anything is possible, and the way that Vadim explains that is like you can be emperor of Rome, but you're going to disassociate from your body, essentially, right? Like
Yeah.
you are going to become a crazy person, what we would deem, an insane person. You're still, you could have multiple personalities. You could, become this thing, but you're not going to be able to physically experience it in this specific space of reality. So you might
Sure.
have that experience and it might be very, very real to you, but you're going to dissociate your heart and mind essentially and basically split is how he
Yeah.
describes it.
There's
But there are
there's been
glitches.
there's been a few cases, and I can't, I can barely say my own name. So I'm not going to try to like think of what these things are called, but where people have some sort of, they have, it's not always a brain injury, but a lot of times it is, but they wake up, they think they're someone else and they're speaking an entirely different language. Like Swedish or something, like not easy languages. They're not waking up speaking Spanish and they took Spanish in high school, or they, they live close to the border or something. They're, they wake up and they think they're someone else. They have like their memories of different people. I don't know. I would imagine it's possible that those people are in, they're, maybe they were in another reality and they woke up in this one. Like it's possible, but you're right. Like not for, if we're teaching meth heads meditation, we should
Right.
probably not go down that road.
Right. I'm obviously I'm being hyperbolic, but like I just like the whole like solipsism, slippery slope. I want to mark and avoid that. It's just a dangerous thing. I think I'm not a big fan of it. And I think it just turns people into narcissists if they're not careful. And like, while it's right on the edge, like, I mean, if you read some of the Eastern stuff, it's like right on the edge of, well, nothing matters, right? Like it's nihilistic almost, or it could be perceived to be that way, depending on how you take it. But I just, especially people who are like new to this or getting into it, like I don't want them to feel like, oh, I can just lay on my couch and just project to some fantasy island place where everything's great, and it's like, well, we have the work to do. We have to get up and fight or do whatever it is that we're called to do, our Dharma. And so I want to encourage people to do that. So practically to speak. And like Friar saying in the chat, and then Kat is saying the whole idea of memory is interesting. It doesn't seem as though science has determined where memories are stored. And Friar's like, yes, I agree. The mind is a receiver. Essentially, the way that Vadim describes it is that it's like in the ether, infinite, there are addresses essentially that we tune into with our memory. So it's not like stored in the brain. It's like we can dial it in, and it's out there somewhere. So like all these things are kind of really fascinating. And I think there's a lot to explore as a result of it. Like, I don't want to limit anybody either, that how they train fleas, like fleas can apparently jump super high, but then they just put them in like a glass and then they jump this high. Right. And then they move the glass and then the flea can only thinks it can jump this.
Someone has a lot of free time.
But essentially that's what they do, right? Like they trick the flea, and we could be metaphorically the flea in this scenario, that they could only jump ever so high, and then they had the ability the whole time to like, double that or whatever.
That is a great segue into some definitely not programming that I'm going to do for all of you right now.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm sure there's more in the comments, Friar.
We'll
put it on hold. Anybody out there watching, let's stand by for a second. So this is something that I feel is near and dear to my heart. Okay. And anyone who's ever had a reading with me, I'm going to share my screen real quick just so I don't forget.
Okay.
Share the screen. Can you guys see the screen up here?
Yes.
Yes.
Look at all those monsters.
Yep.
Bunch of damn ghosts.
I think this is today, right? Today. That looks like today. Okay. 8/21. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So humans are so very easy to program, right? This is a really big problem for anyone who does any type of predictions. I personally am extremely careful when I do any type of natal analysis or prediction, namely because, and there's a particular culture out there who need not be named, where astrology is such a major part of daily life and religious practice and all kinds of things, that people literally live and die based on what you tell them as an astrologer. Hopefully not me. I would think that I have made that very clear to people, like, you should not be doing that. So what I will first say, for anybody watching this or anybody interested, or Owen, if you care, or whatever, astrology, when done correctly, you will find that it perfectly aligns with your intuition. As a matter of fact, 100% of the times I have ever talked to someone about their natal chart or what's coming up with them or anything, 100% of the time, if they're in tune with their intuition, it's going to line up. And that's probably part of the reason why my readings are as accurate as they are, because I don't know, maybe I'm getting lucky. People are coming to me and they're, you know, they're already like on the path. And so they're tuned into themselves, not always, but most of the time. So that's probably part of it too. So I'm going to do this just real quick here. I'm going to talk just a little bit because Venus is going into Virgo and our sun is beautifully, perfectly conjunct here. This is basically a weather forecast, and it just tells you about the ambient astrological energies floating around out there. And every single person gets to decide what they want to do with those things, which is why two people, you can have twins born within minutes of each other, and you have totally different personalities. They make different life choices. One person's a saint, the other person's a serial killer. I can't actually think of an example, but I'm sure it's out there, right? Because people do make decisions, but they have, you know, they have basic traits. It's kind of like a genetic predisposition for various things. Like some people may or may not have different abilities and, you know, flaws and whatnot. So with that being said, astrology has to be general, especially when we can't look at the individual's natal chart. This is for 8 billion people on the planet, which is why I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. I can only do like Astro Victor, if I said it right again. I can only do what he's doing, which is like give you examples of things that could happen, but they're still just examples, and there's nothing written in stone here. Okay. They're just here for you to take this information and work with it if at all possible. So basically what's going on, we talked a little bit last month, this sun being here with Regulus, Regulus was a Nana Ishtar, as was this lioness of heaven, or at least this is one of her guises here. And this is kind of like having the sun being conjunct with Venus. Now, Venus is very similar to the heart. She can be despair, she can be bliss, and kind of, you know, some things in between. But when she's with the sun was her twin brother, and he was always talking her off the ledge. So wherever she can be like wild and violent at times, he's going to come in here and he's going to subdue that. So Regulus conjunction with the sun. Now this is going to be for the next few days, and we'll even feel this over a week or so. It's you know, it's the whole portion of the sky. We don't want to get too hung up on the exact place. This can soften things quite a bit. Additionally, Venus herself, she's going to be moving into Virgo. Now Virgo, unlike her aspect here as the lion, where she is more like Durga, she's more, we don't want to say she's aggressive, but she's definitely assertive. She's not going to necessarily start fights unless she has to. She's going to finish what she, you know, if you're going to start it. But this is more her in the Earth Mother guise. She becomes much softer, a little bit more introspective. So the whole time, now this is not just for this week, this is going to be the entire time that Venus is transiting through Virgo, and I'll just walk us through here. So this is going to run us up into, first of all, this conjunction with Spica, probably relatively significant, definitely better for health and wealth. Anything, if you do any type of meditations for that type of stuff, you would definitely want to take advantage of that, because that will intensify things a little bit. But I'm going to say right around like the end of the month is what we're going to say. So of September. So we got, what is that? 6 weeks, 5-6-ish weeks, for Venus to be in here. So a little bit softer. The sun's obviously chasing her. He usually, well, not always is, but you know, he's either chasing her, she's chasing him. But this is going to soften all of this. I would say financially, this is probably good. So as you guys probably may or may not know, we had some, at least in the West. Well, actually, I think it was pretty global. I don't know that Russia got impacted by it too much, but there were definitely some market crashing and whatnot. But what happened, it did balance itself off. It lost a lot, but then it kind of came back up. I I'm personally not going to be worried about anything in here. I don't really worry about anything astrologically anyways, because again, I'm on the most joyous and prosperous timeline. Not sure what you guys are doing over there, but that's where I'm at. While that's all going on, Jupiter and Mars are over here. It's a very fertile energy. It's very creative. There's nothing negative about this. Don't let anybody out there tell you that any of these, there's nothing inherently good or bad anywhere. It's all just it's all just what you want to do with it. Okay. So these are just your options. And going back to like the weather report concept, you know, I can tell you what the weather is going to be. I can't tell you if that's going to make you happy or sad. And I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know if you're going to have a picnic. I don't know if you're going to stay home and read and drink hot cocoa. It's really just up to you. So hopefully that was helpful for someone. And I'm going to pop back out of this, and Friar, if you want to go back to the comments.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I also wanted to say this made me think of like Donnie Darko, the director's cut, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. The Tangent Universe. All right.
Amazing
Reich.
soundtrack, you guys. Amazing soundtrack.
Totes. All right. So we went over the memory piece. Kat says, it's my opinion that they, being memories, are stored in the biofield. The body is in the mind, essentially, which is why in biofield tuning, I can find memories while combing through someone's field with tuning forks. And I will add, Friar is adding this. Kat does this kind of work. So she's speaking from experience.
Yes. And you guys, Kat healed a knee injury that I had that I was told was not fixable without surgery, and it was healed within 2 days, and I have not had a problem with it since. So she's definitely legit. Owen, are you familiar with biofield tuning?
I am. I'm a big fan of the idea. Eileen Day McCusick's book, I have both of them, and I read one of them. The one's like the practical, like how to do it. And I don't have forks, but I have a friend who actually went on tour with me when I went on tour for comedy. She brought the tuning forks along, and we called it the Get Forked tour because we just went pretty crazy with the forks. And she's still learning, but I mean, it's amazing. Chance Garton is somebody I look up to a lot, and he does a lot of the biofield tuning stuff. I think he even does it remote, which is interesting.
Yeah, Kat can do it remote too.
Yep. She also says, we limit ourselves. I agree, Abby. I think we are capable of more than we realize. Double J then said the Mandela effect, which we were talking about. And then Kat says, agree, solipsism can lead to narcissism. And,
yeah, you probably want to be marginally emotionally mature before you start to explore the more philosophical stuff. Like, it's good to probably start small.
And also, so there's like solipsism and also antinomianism, which are the other dangers of certain types of esoteric practice. Antinomianism means essentially that let's say that you made it through the great work, right? And you are self-realized and all the great stuff. You may be led astray in thinking that because you have done this very special thing that very few people do, that you are no longer subject to any rules. And
like what rules?
Some
rules you might not be.
Any rules. Like you're basically, I'm just better than you. It's sort of,
why does it have to be a better or worse? Why can't you just be like, because listen,
I'm just explaining the term.
Okay.
I'm just saying words.
Because some of the rules are stupid, and you shouldn't give them power in the first place. So
I'll give you an example. So like there are NPCs in the world, and these are people who aren't real. They don't have souls, blah, blah, blah. So I can just do whatever I want to them because they're morons that are stupid. Like that is problematic in my opinion.
And I would say that that's not, anybody who is looking at it from that perspective has probably not reached that state of enlightenment that they think they have in the first place.
Possibly.
I concur with that. But it's just like these ideas are out there. They're so prevalent, like the specific person. Have you seen that? Manifest your SP. You know,
I don't know about that one.
Let's.
Yeah, are we treading on some funky ice right there? But like, it's like,
what is it? I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I have strong opinions about those practices, and I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't either. I have a problem.
It makes me want to say words and phrases.
I still don't know what it is though, so you got to back up.
So essentially, like if I had a crush on somebody, then I could manifest them into my life and date them, and basically it's getting involved in other people's will from my
It's
Yeah.
black magic.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
straight
that's
up black
yeah.
It is
magic.
black magic. Yeah.
It's
Okay. But they needed a warm, fuzzy, new agey word to
yeah. Like
look
But
I'm
it's
at
just
it to
very
get into
popular.
reality.
I
it's
mean, people are being manipulated
yeah.
intensely by some of these creators on YouTube, and it
Oh,
is
I'm sure.
problematic, because people are kind of that dumb, and like they actually believe it. I saw this one lady like with a doll, and she's like, I just make him do whatever I want, like using the doll to like make her guy like take out the trash or whatever. And I'm like, okay, lady, this
Yeah,
is
that's
an example of like rules that
Yeah.
that you can't break really. And I think it's a hoax. I mean, you can't. I don't know. I mean, I think it's mostly a hoax. I'm sure there's people who have some pretty incredible powers. I've heard people being able to insert themselves into people's dreams and all this kind of stuff, which, whatever. I mean, sure, I'm not saying you can't do it, but like at the same time, like what is the practical value of such a thing, right?
well,
It doesn't.
again, you have to be a emotionally and mentally unstable person to want to do those things in the first place.
I think
Yeah.
so too.
Like people talk about that stuff and I'm like, oh, love spell? You mean erotic binding spell? Because that's what you're talking about. It's, and J.K. Rowling would characterize that as an unforgivable curse. That's the
Would
Imperious
she?
curse.
Okay.
Yes, it's the Imperious
Have you
curse.
been reading Harry Potter again? Is that what's
No,
going on? Okay,
just
because you've been
it
channeling a lot of
because
Professor Snape these days.
because you brought it up
Oh, okay.
a while back when we were talking about magic and Harry Potter and the
Oh,
quality
okay.
of writing and all that stuff. So
Yes.
yeah, it's been on my mind.
Okay.
I could talk about it a lot, but I won't.
Oh, you can. You can talk about whatever you want. Do we have anything
Oh,
else in the comments that we're missing?
yeah, we got comments.
Okay.
All kind of comments.
Okay.
See, X Avi, I don't know if I did that right. Says, "Thank you. Need my bootsy time." Got a fan.
My homie right there. What's up, X?
Kat says, "Yeah, Chance Garton. Oops, sent that early. Chance Garton interviewed Eileen Day McCusick a few times on his Innerverse podcast, which is how I found biofield tuning originally." And she says, that stuff is pretty creepy. I guess what we were just talking about, and sounds like psychic vampirism in a way. Yeah,
It is.
It's vampirism adjacent for sure.
Yeah, you're a monster if you're going to do those things. I mean, it's not any
good.
different. Yeah, then like, why don't you just walk into somebody's house and tie him down? I mean, you're basically forcing your will on somebody else. It's gross.
Right. Not
Yeah.
good.
No.
Yeah. I mean, do you really want that? I mean, do you really want to bring somebody into your life that doesn't want you? Like that's icky.
Yeah, that's gross.
Weird, like, yeah, there's definitely some broken people out there though, that are kind of falling
But
into
right.
this.
But in the main, that describes antinomianism. Is like I'm just going to break the rules because I'm better than you because I did this magic shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking something else, but okay,
Yeah.
I can see that.
And I could say more about it, but
I wasn't trying to, get you fired up.
No, I'm basically the Ed McMahon of this particular group here. I'm the guy who like sits and laughs and nods.
He didn't give the checks apparently.
He did not give the check. Well, in your timeline.
Which is weird because even in some movies he makes fun of himself giving out the checks. Like he references it in like old movies from the 90s. So what's going on here?
I don't know.
I don't think it's CERN. Just so you guys know, I don't think, oh, they fired up CERN, weird stuff's going on. I think it goes back to like collectively creating wherever we're going. Although
there's something to that. I mean, I will say this: Robert Anton Wilson saved my damn life for sure, like 100%. Okay. That event that you and I talked about in private, Abby, which was really tough for me. I read Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. That damn book saved my life because he sort of I was going crazy and he basically reeled me in and gave me a better map to kind of understand like what the hell was happening with me. And I will be forever grateful for him and that book. And I read.
Well, tell us about the map that he gave you.
Well, that would take a long time.
Oh,
But
it's like a big thing.
it's a thing, but basically just talking about the ways in which your reality is flexible, let's just say. And what happens to you when you undergo what he described as a rapid brain change event. And that could be very hard on you, and it can kind of screw you up. And the fact that rapid brain change events can be induced by very, very bad people. So he described the things that can happen when you undergo that. And in my case, that whole tragedy was very much a rapid brain change event. So I was really reaching. I did not know what the hell was up with me. Yep, there it is. So yeah, for me, it was absolutely critical to have read that book at that time. And it really one of the reasons that I am who I am today, based on, and I say this based on like the practices that I have. Like he put seeds in my head that were there for decades. And then finally, when I had another unfortunate series of events, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to just go full on whole hog, no stone unturned. I'm no longer afraid of the occult. I'm just going to like grip it and rip it. Let's fucking do this. And I'm glad I did, because here I am, stuck in a transporter accident, obviously, as you can see, but I'm fine. It's nice here. So yeah, Robert Anton Wilson, dude. That's why I got into the Golden Dawn straight up.
Yep.
Is he a Golden Dawn guy?
Well, yeah, I think he's really a Thelemite.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's kind of an option. They tend to get, commingled, if you will, but different branches of the same source.
I gotcha.
But
Yeah. So I had a similar, dude. It's so funny. Like we have a lot of parallel. I'm actually working on a summary of Prometheus Rising right now, and
nice.
I have about halfway through it. It is difficult because it's so heady, to summarize. But the 8-circuit model of consciousness is something I do with my clients, specifically going through that, and then relate that with a lot of other models, the Kabbalistic tree of life, as well as like the stuff from the law of one, the density consciousness stuff. But like all the trauma healing stuff really I think it has a lot to do with the 8-circuit model of consciousness and the meta programmer, going back into those earlier formed psychological imprints and digging that stuff out. Like we were kind of talking about just a little bit earlier, the trauma healing and stuff, like going back to those events and reprogramming those events. So it's like the event doesn't not happen anymore, but the way that we experience and perceive of it and the emotions around it are changed. As we develop, like what he talks about in Prometheus Rising is like, as we develop, and we learn this a little bit in basic psychology, is like we have these 4 fundamental imprinting states. There's like the maternal, the paternal, you have the semantic, which is, symbology and language, and then adolescence. And those are the first 4 fundamental circuits or stages of life where we are imprinted and sort of become who we are in essence. But as you climb up into those higher levels of consciousness, you're able to go down and reprogram those and fix anything that kind of went wonky. Like there's a lot of stories that he shares in there, like especially like during the sexual imprints, where there's like a guy who's like having his first sexual experience in a car, and a police officer comes up and knocks on the door, and that gave him, he wasn't able to perform sexually after that
He should have
happened.
kept going. Yeah, he could have kept going.
Yeah, that's right. Watch this, officer. But but yeah, no, they wound up, working with him, and they were using heavy amounts of LSD at this time, which is not necessary. Okay. But
No.
at the time, I mean, it can soup some stuff up, I'm sure. But they work with him in order to fix that, right? Like as just one of the examples, but there's all these different examples of imprinting in there. And I think there's a lot to that particular model. It's actually, he takes it from Timothy Leary, and Timothy Leary found it. It's like an ancient model. It's in a lot of like Roman and Greek stuff as well. But I love the book too. It's so funny that, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but I love it that book was one of your big books.
Oh, big, huge. And fortunately I had read Illuminatus before that. Okay. So it wasn't my first introduction to, all of that. And Illuminatus is great. I've read everything that Robert Anton Wilson wrote in terms of books. because I was just like, holy crap, this guy's got it going on. It helped
Yeah,
me just, I can't tell you. But NLP is another thing that like he sort of turned me on to. And the going creating a structure through which you can safely at a distance address trauma is one of the hallmarks of NLP. You know, they have techniques for that too. So it's all, and Richard Bandler, he was a magician, obviously, and it's all this big mishmash of interrelated fun stuff. I love this crap. There is no off topic on this group, by the way.
Yeah, there's no, yeah, that's not possible.
no, that's
It's
cool. Yeah, I just no, I love it, dude. Then you just threw Bandler in there, the structure of magic. What in the world? That stuff is so fascinating to me. I mean,
oh,
it's
it's
all
amazing. And the
just
whole
so
thing of him naming NLP the way he did, like he got pulled over by a cop and he had a book on neurology, linguistics, and computer programming. And the cop asked him, like, what do you do? And he looked at those stack of books and went, I do neuro linguistic programming.
That's
That's
epic.
awesome. That's so funny. I had no idea that's how it was
Yeah.
named.
Yeah. On the spot. Improv, baby.
I love it.
That's the way to do it.
So yeah, astrocartography was something that we covered I think last time,
Yes, we did.
which was yeah, and you know, you had talked about the instinct playing a part in any of the chart work that you do, and had mentioned that because I had said that whenever I went through like the Appalachian Mountains, every time I just feel like I should just stop. Like I'd be going from North Carolina to Texas, Texas to North Carolina, and every time I went through the mountains, I'm like, I just need to stop here and just live here. And I
Why
still
didn't you do it?
reasons.
Everybody's got them.
I know. Because I wanted to like work and eat and stuff. It's weird. Uh, but yeah, so that my instinct showed up on my astrocartography because the like Eastern Tennessee is a good place for me. I mean, I just want to buy, you know, Mima's old trailer and live in the holler. Like that's fine. I want to do that. So
Yeah, that's a good thing to aspire to. And I hear in the United States, we can't get it here for obvious reasons. But you can do like get Starlink now, and like you can have internet right in the middle of the woods.
Yeah,
That's the way to go. That's
I'm
probably
down.
the only reason why I haven't like totally moved to Siberia and just live out in the middle of nowhere. No internet. Which
Yeah.
is fine. I don't have any problems with completely disconnecting from society, but I do feel like I have a purpose and like I'm helping people. And I think it would be selfish of me at this point to just totally check out if I have something of value to continue to contribute. So
I love that.
I also don't get the idea of like why everybody wants to retire and like just I don't know, like go fishing or watch TV for like the last 20 to 40 years either way. I don't get that. The
That's
idea of me like just not working anymore, like I just don't. Granted, I don't consider it really work. I mean,
if you well in the current paradigm, which is all this horrible construct, like our whole world is bullshit.
it is too.
Well,
It for real is.
we've been convinced to be these like Victorian workers, and the idea is like work is doesn't have to be purposeful, which I mean I can see that, but it's completely divorced the idea of like your work from your purpose, which I don't so much like. And so therefore the idea being you go to work for 30, 40, 50 years or whatever the fuck, and then you get to do your purpose later because they're not the same thing. But
Was it like that before they implemented income tax? I'm sure it was in like other countries. I'm just saying like in the West in particular, like was it, did they
yeah,
still have that mindset? Like,
well, the Victorian thing was well, predates 1919 or 1913 or whatever the fuck
yeah,
the income tax was pooped out of the
yeah, that's
devil's
true.
ass.
Was
But
that 1913?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta keep paying for World War One, guys. Just keep on fucking
Yeah, it's
paying for it.
gross. It's gross. You know what? I I have like whole conversations with myself because I don't have anybody here to talk to besides Alice, right? Until I talk to you guys in the evenings. But I have had my mom, bless her soul. She's still alive. That wasn't like one of
Oh,
those. But she was a workaholic. And definitely made me into a workaholic but just different. I didn't do the 60 hours a week at the clinic work, like totally just running myself ragged. I did the entrepreneurial route, which is arguably worse because you don't
Yeah.
escape. There's no escape. But like I've had that conversation with her and a lot of other people, although mainly her, because she's the one that has to deal with me more so than I have to keep a level of professionalism with my clients. I can't go totally off the walls or anything. But like having that conversation, like maybe there's nothing wrong with me and people like me who don't want to work all the time. Maybe there's something wrong with the system. And like, why do we just accept any of that? Like, why do we have to play by any of those rules? I think it's clear when people all get together, we have a ton of power and we have a ton of effect, but like, why are we just all on board? Is it just programming? Are we just all, we've been trained to be, I don't want to, not slaves in like the traditional sense, but at a minimum, debt slaves,
Sure.
like, and everything people think that you have stuff, so when I moved to Russia, I sold all of my worldly possessions. I came over like everything. I had like a suitcase full of stuff. So I realized at that point, like there was a time where I felt bad and I was like, oh my God, I don't have a house anymore. I don't have a car anymore. Like, am I like a less of a person now because I don't have stuff? But then I realized like, oh my God, no, you guys are all, not you guys, not you two particularly, but like all these other people with your, you're making $150,000 a year at your awesome job and you got your boat and your RV and like all your giant yard that you got to mow for like 2 hours every day or every weekend. I'm like, you guys are all prisoners, you're prisoners
Right.
to this lifestyle and to your debt. And like, everybody's got to trade something. So if you're gonna get that stuff, you're gonna cough up a lot of money or a lot of time and a lot of
Yeah.
energy for that. So
And although people would probably not like to hear these words that I'm going to say with my face meats into their earballs, it's voluntary.
yeah,
It's imposed on us heavily
Mhm.
through various mechanisms, but the fact is we are buying into it, right? And there's people people do kind of like to be led. They do like to have answers given to them, and the answers that are being given to them are rather cynical answers that benefit some other people. Like, oh, you want answers? Here's an answer. Why don't you work for me and give me money and stuff? And we have a country full of people doing that. We don't even have a freaking cool pyramid to show for it or nothing. No Sphinx, no
nope, you
pyramid,
sure don't. Nope.
just a bunch of really unhappy people. And so all that to say, I had to work really hard to see through the fog of that and try to figure out what my purpose, my dharma, my whatever is, my gifts. And I didn't find it easy. Some people think it's really easy. For me, it was not. All that programming, looms large in your mind. And now I'm going to plug my services.
Do
Uh,
it.
I, honest to God, through my life and through my experiences, I had various, defense mechanisms and things that I did to try to survive a crummy life. And I found, much to my surprise, that those things became strengths. And one of those strengths, probably the most prominent one, is my ability to listen and really get neutral and become a vessel for what other people want to say and what they need to say. I have people that come to me naturally. They're just not. I don't wear a t-shirt that says I will listen. I can be walking the streets and lost people come to me and unhappy people come to me. All kinds of people come to me and they just gravitate towards me for whatever reason, good or bad. It could be both. That's fine too. Um, but damn it, I'm actually pretty good at being receptive and listening and letting people say what they need to say and feel safe when they do it. It's it really that's about as close to a statement of dharma as I can give you. And so the plug here is if that's interesting to you, if you need to talk, if you really want someone who's going to listen, I promise you, I can do that. So you can go to my website, friarpesel.wordpress.com, or perhaps easier, just send me an email at friarpesel@gmail.com.
Yeah, I believe all your contact information is in the video description for anybody out there.
All right. Thank
And
you.
he's usually on the Sunday calls if you want to come and meet him. If you're like nervous, you're hesitant, like come and jump on there and
Yeah.
you know.
I jump out of this weird transporter buffer and you can see me. It's great.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my plug. I'm sticking to it.
that's great. Love it. Is there anything else in the comments?
Oh yes, of course. Comments. We got to fix your comments. We'll figure out how we're going to do that.
You mean so I can see them?
So you can see them. Yes, that's
It's
what I
not
meant.
going to happen because I guess I could try to look on my phone. Maybe I'll try that. I just am not a multitasker, you know.
I know. The cat says desperation can lead to depravity. Abby, I think for a lot of people, they spent all those working years slaving and not doing purposeful work. Then by the time you retire, you're tired and burned out. She also said, yeah, what Friar said. Dungeon programming. So she's saying that this paradigm that people accept as dungeon programming reminds me of the Devo song Freedom of Choice.
I don't know that one.
For the Devo fans.
But again, I've been under a rock.
Yeah. Now some people
they told people were like, hey, are you guys all right over there? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, Russia invaded Ukraine. I'm like, really? I had no idea. It was like
oh gosh,
like a weekend. I didn't know. I'm in my own world over here, and it's great. It's an awesome place to be.
I will also say, to bring it around to our ancient aliens friends, as you love them so much.
You do. We love everyone.
There's this notion that like we are programmed slave people, like we are born to be slaves, and they say, well, that's clearly because we were created by the Anunnaki.
I have an answer.
Mine gold.
I have an answer. Do you want to hear it? I've
Go
been sitting
ahead.
on this answer for a really long
time.
Well, I already told you guys in the video course. I'm not sure.
Come on, bring it.
So this whole idea is based on Zecharia Sitchin's garbage. That's the nicest word I could come up with. Garbage translation of the Sumerian texts. Okay. Zecharia Sitchin did not speak Sumerian. My daughter could probably like sputter nonsense and speak better Sumerian. Okay.
Okay.
The 12th Planet is an awesome book. Everyone should read it. It's great, but it's not real. Okay. He's a good writer. He's a good read. He brings the story to life and it's great. And that's why the whole ancient aliens thing has really taken off because of his writing skills, which I respect. But here's the thing. I don't know if at some point there is evidence. I think there's legitimate evidence that at some point in humanity's history, somebody, messed around with our DNA, right? I think that's not, we could make that case. To say that we were programmed for service, I think that to be by some reptilian, and Anunnaki has nothing to do with reptilian people, by the way. But to say that we were the same thing, we were programmed to be religious. I think we can make a biological argument that some of these things have served us in the past as a species. We're clearly programmed to follow leaders. I think that's any type of pack animal, social animals. You can look at any species and we all have those, we're programmed to, and I mean genetically, biologically, to not want to be isolated, not rock the boat, because that could have resulted in death or starvation or removal from the group. And I mean, we can again look at lots of animals where when that happens, that's the end. They don't have the protection of the group. So I think that there's a simpler explanation for some of those traits as far as how it is that we could be programmed to just be like debt slaves and not get out of that. Some of it, I think, is if you see if all of the people are doing it, you're just going to do that stuff too, right?
Right. And also there's a promise of safety in it. Like if you take this permanent job, which I put in air quotes because it's never permanent.
There's no security. It's not real.
No, but they call it that. Say you take this permanent job and you buy this permanent house, you'll be safe and your life will be good, and safety, and it's okay. So safety is good. And especially, you start kicking out kids that you kind of want to be safe. You don't want to necessarily raise your kids in chaos.
Sure.
So, that's me sort of being nice about that particular instinct in people, as opposed to saying, well, you were born to be a slave. Look, it's true. In 1929, it was Operation Titty Twister. Operation Titty Twister. It's verified. It's documented. That's not where I'm going.
That's spot on, man.
I say people, are intended to be slaves. I think that's the nasty way of putting it. I do think people want to be safe. I think people want some sort of regularity and security and non-chaos. And that what happened is that's a great exploit in our psyche that other people have exploited and said, oh, so you want to be safe, huh? Well, here's your permanent job, quote unquote, which we all know isn't. But they lied because they know people want the safety. And we do all this stuff and we make other people titanically rich.
Well, it sucks.
It does suck.
I know how to like hunt and grow my own food, and like I can.
Yeah.
I went to survival school, like
Yeah, you're a killer.
So like when you have that, like the idea of being able to feed yourself and like your survival instincts, they make you look at those things a little bit differently. I would imagine, at least for most people, like we're all capable of. And I don't, I'm a libertarian. I'm not trying to go like mega socialist or something, or like utopian. Like I'm not trying to say that we should all do that, but we could technically just live in, with like the clothes on our backs and just eat off the land and just live in peace. Like we don't need all this bullshit. We definitely don't. Like we can, and it's been proven, we've done it for thousands of years. I think we could make a case for when we moved into agrarian society. And we started to really store food and resources. That's where we basically started to generate wealth, I think. And I forget who said it, but somebody, I don't know if you guys know, let me know. Somebody said that we're basically designed to be technological, like, what's the word? Like hunter-gatherers, but like with like technology, like being smart ones, being able to do that stuff. So I think that would probably be a better way to go. The system's definitely broken, but again, I don't know. Hey, I don't know where you guys are going on your timeline. I'm on the most joyous and prosperous timeline.
You are.
So I just know things are like getting better all the time, and I just trust, and it's good. It's good stuff. I want you guys to come up here with me because it's a great place to be. Oh, and you might be there already. I don't know.
I am some days. It varies, I have to kind of like watch my mental diet, but like the Bhagavad Gita has been the thing. Cause like when I grew up in the church and they're like, have faith. I'm like, faith is for bitches. I'm sorry, but like faith doesn't work. You have to believe in something not real or something that's not real yet. And I don't know, when I read this book, something just clicked for me and I'm like, there's no reason to have faith. I know we're fine.
That's right.
Everything's fine. It's fine. The house burning down, the meme dog. This is fine. It's fine. It is. It's fine. Yep. This is fine.
Yeah. I think my best moments come when I like go just like full Zen, because my mind likes to attack me. Now that's maybe a funny statement, but like I just got shit ripping around in there, and it like every day, every single damn day. I'd be doing, I'm washing dishes, and my mind's like, remember that time when you really fucked up really bad? It was really bad. You really hurt some people. And I'm like, why did you tell me this? You're right. And so the way I've been dealing with is just saying, you know what? You're right. I fucked up. I hurt a bunch of people. I've been terrible. Yep. Great. Thank you. And
then what? Do you follow it up with something like, and that has made me a better person, or
I do not.
Oh, okay.
I do not. But that's been my current, is just to acknowledge, be like, okay, yeah, sure. If that's like, you need to hang that in front of my face. I thought we were done with this, but all right, we'll do this some more. But in truth, because of that issue, I feel the best personally when I just zen out, like go full on Zen time. I'm sitting in a chair in front of a desk. I'm talking to nice people on the internet. That is what's happening. The only thing that's happening is what's actually happening.
Being in the moment.
Right. None of this inner screen stuff, if you will, if I'm going to use a Vadim Zealand phrase. No inner screens, no outer screens, just center screen. What's happening? Where am I right now? Right here. Boom. That's it.
Well,
That's
that's
when I
all that
feel
matters.
that's when I
Right
feel
now.
the most at peace. That is the most peaceful thing I can do for myself. That's my thing. Just my mind likes to go all fucking 9 of swords on me and start bringing all that crap up. Love
You
it.
can take that to the next level. If you're already acknowledging it,
Yes.
it's time to tell those thoughts to go fuck themselves, right? Like just tell them what's up. Be like, all right, yes, I've screwed up hard. I've hurt people. I've embarrassed myself, like whatever it is,
all
you
the
know?
things. Yeah, the plenty of
Yep.
things.
You guys, I fought in Iraq. I say fought like I wasn't I was in the combat zone, but I was in the Air Force. So I was on an airplane. I helped kill a lot of people. And that's not something that anyone should want to be able to say or, have to say.
Right.
So like you can really beat yourself up about stuff like that, you can really dig the knife in and just eat yourself up. Or you can look at that and take that and make something good come from it, right? Now I can't, like I said, I indirectly did those things, but it doesn't matter, I'm still an accessory to murder, right? So, all you can do is learn from it and try to help other people and try to make a difference with what you have. So, and it doesn't matter how little any of your fuck ups are. I think about that too. Owen, you probably don't know, but I had like 23 miscarriages before I ever was able to carry my daughter to term. And oh my God, when I was going through it, I was just, it was hell, for like a lot of social pressure. And obviously I wanted children too and whatnot, but it wasn't till, and I knew this when I was going through it, that like, no, there's a reason for it, right? Like somehow this serves me. My people are taking care of me, whatever, but it wasn't until I had my daughter that I really looked back at all of the horrible things I've ever done, ever said, any of the people I've ever hurt, any of my screw ups, the disappointing people, whatever it was, things I just sucked at, like I could have done better, and realized like if any of you take out any one of those things, and I would not be in this situation right now. I would not have my daughter. I would not be where I'm at. I would not be the person I am. So even all of those horrible things, no matter what they are, they make you who you are eventually.
Yeah. And that's part of what I was talking about when I said that I have had experiences that caused me to generate defenses that eventually became gifts.
Yes. And they all will. They will all serve you. They will all become gifts. I have a client, she's Muslim. You wouldn't think it, but a lot of Muslim clients too. And she said something, she said it a few times, and it summarized like everything that I just tried to describe. But she says it all the time. Whenever something is going bad in her life, she says, God is good all the time. And she's absolutely right. Every single thing. That's one of the things that I have come to understand through meditation, is that everything, God, whatever you want to call it, Shiva or the universe, like, I'm just using as a generic catch-all term for the all existence, right? God is loving you at all times. And like, that's it. All of the experiences, good, bad, ugly, that's just God loving you. And you just haven't figured out how yet. It was so good to have you, Owen.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, I could stay and hang out for a long time. I've got Friar coming on the live stream next week. I can't wait to have you on, Abby. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. Like, we're just scratching the surface, and getting to know you has been amazing. So I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for having me. Thanks to everybody in the chat. It was an awesome, amazing time. I really appreciate it. And I hate I have to run, but I do have a call coming up right now. So I'm going to try to hop on that. And many blessings, much love. I'm so excited to meet you. And
yeah, likewise. It was so good to meet you.
Let's talk about all kinds of stuff. we will.
Okay.
I appreciate it tremendously. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
Yep.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi,
Well,
Friar. It's just me.
Hey, I know. Looks like we ran him off.
I think
No.
no, we didn't scare him,
No.
I don't think.
No. I think he was perfectly suited for this format and
Yeah.
the stuff that we say and do.
Yeah. Is there anything else in the chat so we're not ignoring anybody?
Chat. Not GPT, but just regulars.
Right.
Gosh, there are quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Abby, this is from Kat. I didn't know you hunt. You still eating mostly carnivore? We should talk about the topic on another live stream, maybe. And
Yeah.
Bootsy said that you were a total badass, and he's correct.
Oh.
Double J says Xena has nothing on you.
Oh, Xena.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it.
I said Abby is no joke for sure. Kat says yes to that. Gifts. Double J says we are all flawed, but the point is to learn from those mistakes, forgive yourself, and move forward. You can always make a choice to do differently and do better. Owen, you are awesome. Kat says rise above victimhood. Good talk, everyone. Thanks.
Yeah. Agreed on all fronts.
I've learned to make new and better mistakes.
Hey, sometimes you gotta, like at least you're not making the same old mistakes. Make new ones. That's fine.
Right. But I think reframing the idea of mistakes has helped too, because
yeah,
in a way it's just a method of inquiry. Like I could be afraid of stuff and not do it, or I could just be curious and know that, yeah, some stuff's going to break, but that also tells me don't do that. And I can't tell you, I'd like to believe that I could tell you ahead of time what's going to work and what's not. And I will proceed based on that idea, but it doesn't mean it's going to work out that way. It just means that, and that's the only way I can move forward, is just to be curious, be like, what's going to happen now? Like life is a big lab, or life is a big playground, or what have you.
Well, a lot of people say who have their near-death experiences that they were told, or like they find out on the other side that the whole thing's kind of like a educational simulation where they're just here to, learn stuff and have experiences and kind of carry that with them next time around. I don't know for sure. As far as I know, I haven't had a near-death experience. I know a lot of people have, and they would probably be on board with what I just said. Right. Short answer, Kat. I am not on carnivore right now. I plan to go back on here in the fall. I try to eat seasonally, but I'm doing a cut, and I expect it for well, it's technically not bodybuilding. I power lift, but I'm in like a cutting phase right now. And so it's really, if I go on carnivore, my calories drop way too fast. Because and I know, Kat, you're on carnivore, so you just don't have an appetite, and I just can't. I just don't trust myself to eat enough right now and still go through my cut successfully. So it's a long process, and I just have to shave my calories down every couple of weeks. So I just don't want to drop everything too quick. But yeah, and I think I mentioned this maybe on the last time we talked about carnivore, somewhere like nothing feels better than carnivore. I was just thinking about that the other day. You just don't have issues. Like your body just feels great all the time. No weird headaches, no weird joint pain, none of that stuff. It is kind of boring. But I eat like the same thing every day, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I don't know. That was like short answer.
Good answer.
Thanks.
And I want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat today. We had I think a record high for
you guys.
Chatters.
Yeah. I suspect after at least everyone says when you start doing stuff more predictably on a schedule, like people look for it. And I know that's the case with like the creators that I follow on YouTube. Like I know when their stuff's coming out, and so like I look for it, but it takes a while, I'm sure, to get to that point.
You're becoming a YouTuber.
I'm not.
Look at you.
I am trying a little bit harder just to be a person. I actually had clipped a couple more videos, and I forgot to post them this week because I was tying up my website. So maybe I'll get a few more clips out this week and try to do. I probably have enough to, do.
Yeah, you can put them out
all week. Yeah, not bad.
Why not? It's good. Look at you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Well,
let's call it a day.
Okay, we'll wrap it up.
Well, a day
Thanks.
for me. It's your day's just starting, but
Right. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, especially to our friend Owen, who is
Yes.
he's in the family.
That's right. He didn't know it, but
He doesn't know it. So, and I will also be on his show
yeah.
next
When?
week.
Next week?
Yeah, next week. Same day. I think same day in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. So I'll be
So-
sleeping.
Yeah, you'll be
Okay.
sleeping. And I think I will be doing a double on that day. I'll be doing this show and then
Okay.
Bootsy's. So
Oh, your brain's gonna be fried.
yes, I know, but I love this stuff. I totally live for this stuff.
Yeah. Like, what else would you want to be doing?
Exactly. Working for some dickhead.
Yeah, you could be. See, you're missing out.
I have done.
I think
Alrighty.
yeah. All right. Well, it was good seeing everybody. Thanks for chatting, and we'll be back next week.
That's right. Take care.
All right.